Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast, episode number 145. I'm your host, Rob Curtis. I'm joined here in the studio with
Leah.
And remotely
Tim.
by
Hello.
Tim Strelecki, or as he just called himself, old man who needs new eye prescription.
Man. I made a mistake of you go to the eye doctor and they give you all those tests and they flip through like 6 different lenses on each eye to make sure you're seeing correctly. And I did that and I thought everything was good. And then I got my prescription and from the first day I was like, these don't seem so good. And then I never went back.
Dude, that's happened to me more times than I care to admit. Once or twice I've had them redone, but usually I just kind of adapt.
I should have. I mean, I only use them for like when we're doing the podcast because it's close up or when I'm reading something, like a book or whatever. Thank God it hasn't come to where I have to wear them for racing because if that happens, I'm just going to quit.
Yeah, because that's a good idea.
I don't want to wear glasses. I mean, I don't want to wear, I don't want to wear glasses like visual glasses when I'm racing. I can still see and, identify things that are close up and flying by me when I'm racing, so that's good.
So now I know that in your heart of hearts you're calling me Four Eyes every time I race. I got it.
Well, you got a pair of sunglasses now that are prescription, so you can wear those.
That's true.
You look a little cooler.
I will say though that those are single vision, and they have my distance prescription. So I will say I can't really see much up close. Like I can't see my computer at all. I can't read my computer at all, which isn't that big of a deal, But at the same time, doing cross, I mean, anything that's like close enough to within the size of this table, I kind of want to have some resolution on. So I don't know. I may or may not race in those. We'll see as the season goes. But hopefully I'll be racing. Hoping next weekend. Haven't done any practice, and I don't think I'm going to do any practice, but I've been getting on the bike again, and it's feeling good. So power is there, but I think I told you the heart rate's about 10 beats higher than where it would normally be for that kind of output. So that's where I'm at.
You probably factor that into about 15 or 20 beats higher when you start racing.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not that my results have ever been stellar, but they're not going to be great. But that's my injury update, and I'm only doing it because a lot of people did ask when we were out at Trek, and did mention that they actually listened to this.
What is next weekend? Big March?
Big March is next weekend. Triple X race. I keep telling people this, and they're always shocked when I've never been to Big March. All these years later, I haven't been to them. And it's, I think, for two reasons. One, there hasn't been anything that's held there that I really felt a pressing need to attend. And then I have been warned, even from the very beginning, people just told me, don't go. There's no parking. It's a mess. It's hard to get in there. I understand that that's probably not correct. So, I'll see. Next weekend, we're going in there. May have to set up the night before, because if parking's an issue, that's going to be a major bummer for the amount of gear that we have to carry in and handle. But who knows? Whatever. The Big March is next week. Triple X. This is if you're in the CCC. CCC did kick off 2 weeks ago. And I don't believe we've had a podcast since then. I think our last podcast was right before that happened. And because I know we didn't have one last week, and because we were all getting ready to go to Trek. But the first kickoff was 2 weeks ago at Glenwood Academy down on the south side there. Down in Glenwood. Get off on Halstead off of 290 whatever. 294. What do the cool kids in Chicago call 294?
I don't think it has a name.
It doesn't have a name? Tri-State or whatever?
That's its proper name.
Maybe.
I mean, okay. So,
yeah, a Tri-State. I think that's it.
Because it's Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Yeah. I'm looking because I'm like, I hope to God that's Bill. Bill Barnes is supposed to be joining us today, but I think he got his time zones mixed up, hopefully. But they just hosted that race out in California, which Leah attended. So hopefully we'll get an update from that. But 2 weeks ago, Glenwood, um, same old, same old. Only able to use about half the course because of construction on site. Still was a good setup, pretty decent vibe. I don't remember, or I don't have access to the numbers on it, but from what I remember, basically it's the same attendance as last year. I was talking to Brenda this weekend after the fact, and I believe we came up with that it was in essence almost identical. So yeah, pre-reg was slightly down by about 28. So
It's not bad.
yeah, no, not at all. Less than 5% of the total reg. Um, which is interesting. It should be up, but there's some people right now that aren't exactly sure what they're going to race and have their own little thought processes on what's going on. So they may or may not be participating. Glenwood's an easy one for I think a lot of people to kind of opt out of, just because of its location so early in the season. And the course is what the course is. It's a flat course, lots of turns. But I didn't race it this year, so I don't really know what the course was like. Leah, you didn't race it. You worked. Were you CR or what were you
I was officiating as judge,
as a judge?
a judge.
But Tim, you did race. You want to give us your
I did.
lowdown?
Yeah, sure. I think this was the least turniest version of it. I think when they first brought it into the series, I think they tried to make up for the lack of, natural features, elevation, and so on and so forth by making it really twisty turny. And I think they've learned either through rider feedback or just through setting up the course over the years that some things work better than others. And I think this year, like I told Steve when I was speaking with him after the race, and then again at Trek this weekend, I think this was in my opinion, their best version of it. Um, it was not so turny. Everything that was twisty and turny had a good balance of open straightaway after it.
Yeah,
So you weren't just caught in this maze of like like you felt like you're in a circus, just turning and turning and turning and turning and turning and turning. Um, Everything was broken up real nice, and I thought it was actually going to be worse because not using that far section, but it actually
yeah,
it raced really, really well. Like I said, I think it was balanced well with power sections, tourney sections, and then the little bit of technical sections with, the barriers being placed in a really good pace, um, and the double tube jump, which
yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Now you jumped those both times.
Oh yeah, wasn't a doubt about that. Um, we had, it was dry and fast, so good stuff.
Yeah, at your time of day, it was a little wet in the
Yeah.
morning.
It was really fun watching your battle with Nate.
Yeah, I mean, my whole goal there wasn't to like try to get a result. I knew when I saw Nate on the registry, I was like, all right, it'll be hard because he'll show up even though it's his first race. He's a level, a step ahead of the majority of that field, myself included. So my goal was to just hang with him. Did that, led most of the race. You know, Kenny's on the mic telling me, or announcing that it's pretty stupid, or whatever he said when he was announcing it, but in that he doesn't know my plan in my head and what I'm trying to get out of the race. I'm trying to get like a fitness bump. I don't really care about a victory in the CCC. I'm just trying to get like my level raised, and Nate's the guy in that field that's going to do it for me, whether I'm leading him or have to chase him down. Um, so I just wanted to put my foot on the gas and exhaust myself. And I knew with like probably three or four to go, halfway through the race, when I peeled off the front by the tent, and Nate was on the front for a lap. He took a flyer, and then it took me a while to bring him back. And then he pulled off, and I could tell by the way he pulled off, he was kind of gassed from that. So I'm like, all right, I'll get on the front for a while and do my thing. So I did that, and I just kept staying there. Like he didn't come around. He didn't come around. I slowed up once on the start finish straight. He didn't come around. I'm like, all right, I know what's going to happen here. He's going to save it till the end. So we went into the bell lap, and when I thought it was going to come in the beginning of the lap, it didn't come. And I'm like, all right, he's saving it. I didn't know exactly where. And then we got past, the tube, we got past the barriers, and we went in like the very back part of the course. And there's that one little left-hand 180 with a little slight dig into an uphill, and he punched it. And I was like, okay, this is it. And I was ready for it. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
there's not much track left. Like if there's anywhere you're gonna do it, it's gonna be here. And he did it
Mhm.
there. And I accelerated and was like right there, but I made the mistake of hitting the wrong button on my shifter. So I was downshifting into easier gears, and I couldn't stay on top of it. So I remedied that, got to him by the next turn, and then he flowed the next like 3 or 4 corners really good. Um, and there's really no opportunity in the remainder of that track to like really send it into a corner and kind of give him one. Plus, I'm not gonna race Nate dirty. If there's an opportunity to pass him, I'm gonna pass him, but I'm not gonna knock him on his ass because
Yeah.
that's just not cool. And I really appreciate Nate. Like I've said in episodes past, I've raced Nate ever since he was a little kid. Um, so there's a respect there. Yeah, and I stayed there. Um, Thought I could maybe get him going the last corner, but he's too smart, and then he just lit up the sprint, and I had nothing. I mean, I had it, but not enough to bridge up to him and pass him. So
Yeah.
second on the day, I'll take it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw you. I felt like you were just like what you said, that you were looking to possibly do something in that last corner. Just kind of could
Yeah,
see it in your body language, and then he shut it down and closed the door.
yeah, like going into the coming with 3 corners to go. There's like a soft left, soft right, and then a hard left, hard right onto the straight on the finish straightaway. And going into the second to last corner, he put his hands in the drops, and I was like,
Yeah.
He's already ready for it. Like I can't do anything here. So it's all good though. Like I look at those are the circumstances and the spots I want to put myself in to get me to a higher level.
Yeah.
You know, Peaking in
Absolutely.
September is not the right way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're listen to me now. If you're listening or watching, peaking in September is not the way to do it. Unless you don't plan to race after September.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
did.
yeah.
I did race that weekend. I did the Wisconsin
Oh, that's
race.
right. What was
Yeah, I totally
the
forgot about that.
Wisconsin one?
Yeah, the Field of
Oh,
Riches.
the Field of Riches.
Yeah, have you done that one? I think I asked
No,
you, Tim. You said no.
I haven't. I looked at it on YouTube and I was like, whose ever video I was watching, I was like, this course looks fun.
It was fun. It had some a little bit of elevation. It had some
Yeah,
single track with some roots and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And I I would just kind of, again, not really training for anything this year, so I didn't know what to expect, and I ended up having a really good race. Finished on the podium.
awesome.
So
Yep.
Fantastic.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And you promptly got chastised by our group chat with so Mrs. I'm not going to race this year ends up on the podium again.
Hmm.
I had a good day.
Hmm. Yeah.
What can you say? It was a course that kind of suited me with some of the technical aspects. So
It's usually what happens when you take expectation away and actually enjoy riding your bike.
well,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing. Yeah, if you just ride with, and it's not like I haven't been riding. I have been riding, and I put in some hard efforts here and there when the mood strikes me, and it's been a good balance, just kind of like riding from my instincts and from my heart instead of
Hmm.
according to a plan. And I usually always end up doing better.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
there you go.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah. So talk about track. I wasn't here for it, so I want to hear all about it.
All right. Well, I guess we're shifting gears, going to the Trek. So we went to the Trek UCI race up there, the Trek CX Cup. We've been just like this flag behind me, if you're watching the video. I will not go on record saying where that flag came from, but it's been here since year one. So I did not abscond with it. So don't blame me. But it's a great venue. We love going up there. I've been going up there since year one. We were trying to figure out how many years this year it's been, and I can't. Do you remember? I want to say.
I mean,
Didn't it
since
start in like
you mean
2012?
That's what I was kind
yeah,
of
because it was
thinking.
Sun Prairie, and then it moved over to
It
there.
moved. Yeah. In the first year. So for those that have been to Trek, if you want to get an idea, kind of how it's, and I do have a point to this, but if you want to get an idea how much it's changed over the years, the first year we went to it, it was in essence USGP on Trek property. And remember they crossed the street and they went around that drainage basin and all that?
Yeah, then they had the little ramps to over the curbs.
Over the curbs and
yep,
stuff. So they
yep.
went over the road to another section.
Mhm.
And they had, so the asphalt where they have like the expo area kind of thing going on. We were on that, and we were in the expo area, and there were a total of 3 vendors. Us as Cymet, I had a 10 by 15 tent. Wayne and Heidi as Buttonhole. Buttonhole Chamois Cream, go to your local shop and pick it up, or your favorite online store. If you have any questions, go ahead and visit us at enzocyclingproducts.com. Once again, Buttonhole Chamois Cream. So it was them, it was us, and Saris. Saris had a 10 by 10 tent with trainers in it. And I don't even think they got used much. I remember most of the Chicago people that showed up there were hanging out with us for the most part, and there was not a lot. There is a picture floating around because, yes, I did get in touch with the race promoter, and we were allowed to have a keg in the tent. I thought it would be a good idea. I was going off of what the USGPs had been. I think the attendance was down from the USGP. And we had a keg in our tent. We ended up with a bunch of racers and a bunch of staff people after their races, and all the Chicago crew hung out, and then other people we know from Wisconsin hung out. So it was a lot of fun, but I mean, imagine that whole asphalt area where there's 3 tents. And that's all we had. There were a couple food vendors and 1 beer tent. And that was it. And that was year one. Now I say that because I've seen it go from that to being a huge event. I mean, huge. I don't know what the biggest event would be. I don't even know if it was the World Cup years, to be honest with you. I think it may have been 1 or 2 of the years before the World Cup years, but the World Cup years were definitely big, down to where we're at now. And I've been listening. If you're going to listen to another podcast other than Road is Dead, might I suggest you listen to CX Air's podcast? But Bill Scheiken's been talking on there about how everyone's giving him a hard time about how all the races look dead, and his response is kind of what I've done this with Road and everything else in the past, where it's a similar response where it's like, if you're saying it's dead, it's because you saw or read something, not because you were there. So you're part of the problem. Correct your behavior, show up to it and go to it, and then let's talk. It's the bring a friend to work day. Invite somebody the next year. That being said, I thought the size of Trek this year was kind of in line with where I expected it to be and where I wanted it to be. It would always be great if it was more populated, but it wasn't. And I thought it was just about perfect. Had a great vibe, absolutely amazing vibe with everyone that I saw.
It always has a good vibe, no
Yeah.
matter how big or small it is.
Well, I mean, the years when it was raining really bad or when it was freezing, it was a little on the hot side day one. Um, it was bad when it's bad when everybody's like, we're talking about ice socks, and we made it a point to bring ice to the second day.
Yeah.
So, but always good to reconnect, and I get to reconnect with all sorts of people in this little, traveling circus that we have, that are from all parts of the country. So, while I am upset that I missed the race out in California, um, I'll take it because um, I'll take it because I do get to see everybody that I do get to see. Very jealous of everyone who got to race. It looked, and that's a different take for me because usually I'll admit that a lot of times if it's taken out of my hands and I can't race, I walk around kind of going, oh, well, it's kind of nice. I don't have to race. I don't have to worry about getting geared up and warming up and getting out on the course and taking a preview, and all that's removed. I had FOMO this time. Really wished I had been out there racing. I do like that course. I know it's hard. It's probably the hardest course I race on anymore, but I like it. Smaller setup. You can tell because they had like maybe a quarter of the number of porta potties that they normally have. So they knew it was going to be smaller, and it was right sized. And the food trucks are good. And when you look at the big picture, they put a lot of effort into. I mean, there's still a lot of money involved with the prize purse and with the layouts of having to drag all the fencing out, and if it's not their fencing, then they're renting it, and that's an expensive thing,
Hmm.
and all the time that they invest with all their employees. But a lot of that event now is sunk cost. So it's they've got a really well established course, and with one of the best features in North America. So being or one of the favorite features in North America being Factory Hill. I do want to point something out. A lot of people refer to the run up as Factory Hill. That is not Factory Hill. Factory Hill is the descent and up that is closest to the south side of the factory, where you're in the background. The factory is painted, and it's painted to say Factory Hill. That is actually Factory Hill. So I only bring it up because I was noticing a lot of, even in Europe, some of the European cross stuff was pointing out Factory Hill, and it was Thibaut Nice riding up the run up, and it's like, no, it's the same grade. It's just moved down the road a little bit, and yeah, it's really hard. And Thibaut rode it, and that's cool. But that's the run up section. But racing wise, seemed like it was awesome. A lot of people, everyone who raced seemed to have a blast. The vibe was good from everybody that I saw. Um, I enjoyed obviously Tim's races because those were, I think, some of the largest fields of the day.
Yeah.
There was 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. Was there a 70 plus in there too?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anything else was mixed in there, but there was at least 4 large fields that went out. I don't know, but 70 plus wasn't that big, but the others were good, 20 plus riders apiece. You guys had something like 70 riders on course.
I think my field, the 50 plus had over 30,
Yeah.
35.
It was the largest field, and it
So,
may have
mhm.
been one of the largest fields of the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Um, but it's, nice setup. I don't know how much of the part. I mean, you weren't there. Do you have any questions about kind of like how it went or anything, or anything you were interested in?
No, I mean, I was just curious to hear how the vibe was, how with the food, and they always have the cows and
Yeah, the cows were good. The winds kicked up day 2, and they did lay over a couple of the cows because of the winds, um, which was great because I got to heckle and say that's the first time I've ever seen cow tipping in action. Um, the If you remember, there's a straight that comes along. You've got the last flyover, and there's a straight that comes along past that. You go down it, and then you do a 180 to finish by the stage. That last straight after the flyover has gates fencing on both sides, and they had snow fence, banners on both sides of that going all the way down. And when the winds kicked up on the second day, I just happened to be standing next to it, walking down past it when the winds kicked up, and they slid all of that fencing all the way over and closed off the entire
Ooh.
route.
Oh.
And the races were finishing. Luckily, there were only a couple of riders still left on course, but it sandwiched 2 riders that were coming through there. Luckily they grabbed their brakes and they kind of just braced for it, and then they got kind of squeezed between the 2 pieces of fence. And I'll tell you, I was dragging on that fence. You know how normally you can grab fence and just pull on it and it's fine. I had all my body weight on it, and it was not budging because it was all interlocked. And that wind, it was a huge sail, and all that was like pushing it. It took maybe 10 of us guys, like all pulling, just to get it to budge enough to open it up so those riders could get through.
Wow.
That was the fun bit.
Yikes.
Winds were only like 15 mile an hour up in that range on the second day. Very dry course. I know it was so dry that you get back to the hotel room and jump in the shower and you just see the dirt, and we didn't even race, just see the dirt, going down the drain there. So everything was covered with that derriere dust. So, but the vibe was great, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Really had a lot of fun. Really had a lot of fun. We're going to get to your racing, but from my take also, it was cool. Day 1, when I was done and had nothing else to do, it's time to go to the secret bar. Secret bar is still cool. There's a bit of an attitude there every now and then, but I get it. I mean, it's a lot of work, and you got a lot of people that just run up and are like, give me a beer, because they know it's free. That would make me a little resentful, but I also get it. And they're not doing many shirts at all anymore to make them more valuable, I guess. So day 1, they handed out 12 shirts, and day 2, I think they did 12 or 15 shirts. I will say, out of all that, Parker, my son, got one, and I lucked into one on day 2. So I was just in the right place at the right time. So
what do they throw them out? Throw them into the
they
crowd?
don't throw them in. Well, actually, I think they were throwing some.
How do you get a T-shirt?
They're not supposed to, but they kind of let people know that it's going to be at 1:00 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then on the nose, they have whoever's standing there, what size, and they hand them to them. And I did see in the first batch they were chucking a few of them, just so that some people further back could get some. But I mean, it's a mob scene when it happens, but it's over in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because there's so few shirts going out. That's
never ever been there.
I mean, it's cool. I like it. The secret bar is definitely the place where the vibe is on that whole property. I love it. There's a fence post that they put in that I stand next to every freaking time that I'm there, because I like the point of view. I can see riders coming up, and I can see them going over the rock past it. And this year I took one of those holographic stickers of my face, and I put it on the fence post right there. So I'm like, that's my fence post. And I had people coming up to me for the rest of the weekend after that going, dude, I stood in your spot. Yeah, it's a cool spot, that kind of stuff. Good conversations, good visiting with people. I love being in the secret bar over there. But they had different, they do different things. The first day they had the wood carving with the chainsaws, doing all that. And day 2, they had an illustrator there that's originally from Chicago, or went to I believe the Art Institute in Chicago, or an art school in Chicago, and always wanted to be an illustrationist, and would go to like little fairs, festivals, farmers market kind of things, and people would request, like, she would do like illustrations of people, like caricatures as illustrations, and do a really good job. And she said that for some reason at one of them, somebody said, hey, can you do our butts? We don't want our faces and stuff. Can you do our butts? And so she did the butts, and it was such a hit that everyone came and lined up to have their butts drawn. And she was there, and basically the name of her place was I Draw Butts. And you could get a T-shirt and pose, and she would draw your butts on the T-shirt. and then or like a card or whatever. And then she had some other stuff she was selling and everything else. She had a line out the door, and of course, my wife insisted on waiting in it. So we ended up with 2 shirts, one for her and one for me. So, and we got our butts drawn, and that's why we didn't get a bar shirt the first day, because our son was in line for the bar shirt. Our son was hanging out at the bar. It is Wisconsin, and we were in line, to get our butts drawn. So she was very kind with regard to my butt. I don't have one, but she gave me a little bit of one. So it's always nice. I tipped her,
Nice.
just a tip. But a lot of fun hanging out there. Good vibe. While we were there, not to tell too many stories, but while we were there, there's an individual who comes over, and I recognize her. I've seen her many times there. And she comes over, and I know that she's Caroline Mani's partner. And she comes over, and just, she hears us, cheering for Caroline when she goes by. And if you're aware, Caroline Mani, this is her retirement tour, basically. And she's saying kind of goodbye to every place that she's going. And it's kind of weird, but I get it. I mean, she's, I think, 38 or 39, something like that.
I think she's like 40.
Is she 40? Yeah. And which is interesting, because we did ask her partner how old she was, and she went, I don't really know, which was kind of cute. But she came over to us while we were cheering and stuff like that, and she's like, oh, she doesn't look happy. And I'm like, no, that's the look of, this happened, that happened. Now she's doing this to get back in. And she kind of looked at me. I was like, I've watched her race a lot over the years. And she's like, dude, that's dead on. We got to talking, and I was like, and you're a partner, right? And she's like, yeah. She invited us then, or she gave us the Kerry Warner little faces, the one that's up there next to the Monk Sucks. So it was like, hey, there's going to be a little thing we're going to do after the podium for Caroline that Maglia Rochette's doing. And, you guys should be there. Come down, hang out, say hi. And so we did. And we hung out there, and it was cool. It was a cool little, Bill Elliston got on the mic and did his little thing, and Caroline came over and talked. And I posted a video of it on the Cymet LLC Instagram. So if you go over there, I think it's a full post over there. You can see it. But Mags and David got a cake for Caroline, cut it up, and it's hilarious. I mean, personally, I love it when pro riders are hanging around junk food, because it's like a Mexican standoff. No one wants to touch it, and because they don't want all of the judgment that everybody else is going to give them. So, it was, hey, it's a party, we have a cake, and then it turned into, everyone please stay and take this cake, because we're not going to eat it, So it was funny to watch them. And, me, the fat guy, I'm like, nope, sorry, bye, have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
But so go and check that out if you like Caroline. Caroline's the best. Known her for many years. I don't want to say known her. Been a fan and have talked to her on more than one occasion. At one point, we talked to her about wheels, but that was after she was at SRAM. I think she was at Crank Brothers at the time, and it was just before going on to Raleigh Clement. Obviously, she had Vision wheels and FSA wheels at Raleigh Clement for all those years. So, and then it got into the whole Van Dessel era where she was on Tad's wheel company. I can't remember, the Meteor or whatever, or what. Adam, was it Adam? No, it wasn't Adam.
Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and that was, a family friend of her ex-wife, and yay, lots of stories there. Anyway, so if you like Caroline, go and check that out. And I don't know, post on her wall. She loves it. I don't see her getting away from this sport, but she sure as hell isn't going to keep racing it at this level. Barely, if you ask her, she barely has enough time to train as it is. That, I think, would be my entire Trek wrap up. Now that Leah needs to be woken up. And now we can actually hear about some racing. That's your cue, Tim.
Oh, you want to hear what my race? Who wants to hear about
Yeah,
Masters?
sure.
Nobody wants to hear about Masters racing.
Well, okay, so this was, I'll ask you questions then. So this was your first 50 plus race, correct?
Fact.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you know.
So what do you think? What do you think being old? Was it lightning years faster, slower?
No, I mean, I didn't have any expectations other than expectations that I wanted to, boxes that I wanted to check for myself. I mean, you know, your competition is your competition, whether it's, you know, it doesn't matter who's there, you know. I mean, it matters who's there. Obviously, there was a few guys that I had known that were in this field that I had raced years prior at Trek, so I knew that they would be challenging. But mainly, my plan was just to race my race, do it my way, and if I have to fight for it, I fight for it. If I get lucky and the race um, goes in my favor and I ride well and I don't ride over my head and don't make stupid mistakes, then everything should pan out the way I would hope it would, and it did. You know,
Nice.
I put a lot of work. I put a lot of work into the early part of the season as far as my preparedness, even before the first race of the season, because you can't go into the cross season just kind of like, oh, I haven't ridden my bike. I'll figure it out at the first race, and then something stupid happens, and then guess what? Your season's over. Um, so you have to do your homework. And
So you're saying I have no chance this year? Thanks.
No, I mean you got. I mean, if you're after results, then you have your work cut out for you. But if you're just out there to get back into it and enjoy what the sport does for you, then you'll be fine.
I didn't mean to derail you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I mean the first day, you know, it's always sketchy when you are in a giant mass start like that because it's kind of like a war zone. You know, at least
Yeah.
at least in the opening laps, you know, and having the 40 plus go first and then the 50 plus go second. Um, at least on the first day, the second day was much better, but the first day I was not nice. Like I was just like I came up. I think they didn't give us the minute between. I mean, 40 plus went off, and then like
But yeah, they gave you like,
not even like 20 seconds later,
yeah,
we went, and I caught the back of the 40 plus field
by the
by
flyover.
by the first flyover, by the end of it, like the straggler off the back of the 40 plus field. And it was like, already? Jesus. So I got aggressive knowing who was in my field, and I was like, all right, I gotta be a little bit of aggressive here and it's kind of a trick I learned racing mountain bikes because it's kind of the same style. You have to make your passes kind of quick, early, and aggressively if you want to make your way up towards the front. Um, I got second wheel. I didn't get the whole shot. I got second wheel, which was fine. We approached the 40 plus field, and I took the lead and started picking my way through. And you know, there was guys that were cordial and got out of the way. There were guys that were argumentative and didn't get out of the way, and then there were guys spread out tape to tape, and you just kind of pick the path of least resistance and blast through it. You know, and I got some hey what the hell mans, and I got some oh sorry, and I got some hey wow good luck. I got all of it. So you know, to those of you that I pissed off, I'm sorry, but I got a thing to do, just like you do. So I ended up lapping up to the front of the 40 plus and then through the 40 plus and rode away from that and ended up winning the race overall and my field overall. So that was cool. And then the second day they added the run up to the race, which for me is a little bit of a fear because,
It's easy to get hurt on it.
well, yeah, I think in like 2018 I had a really bad accident on that. Like I went into it with a full head of steam and too low a tire pressure. And as soon as I hit the transition from the parking lot to the wall, my bars turned and my head went straight into the dirt. And I got up. My bike was a completely different color. I knew where I was, but I was kind of foggy, so I rode off the course. So I had that little bit of fear, if you will.
Yeah,
Uh, so took it easy the first lap, got past it, got the demons out of the way, and then managed to do the same thing I did Saturday on Sunday. Rode through the 40 plus field, win the race, win my race. We're done.
that's a very quick recap of what was actually way more interesting to watch than you're revealing. But
I'm
from
gonna
my
cut
point
both
of,
people.
I know, but from my point of view, it was on day one he was through all the 40 plus. Like what was it? Within a lap or two?
I think by the second lap I caught the 40 plus field, but I was on a good one on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
was,
were flying. I was sitting. I've seen you race a lot,
yeah,
but I was sitting there just going, "Oh crap!"
yeah,
And which, by the way, my mind wasn't in the right place. Like at the start of to be like, "Oh, there's a 40 plus field here. I got to figure out what the numbers are and all that." So
yeah.
I was like, I started freaking out, going, "I'm not gonna know where he's at in the race or what's going on. So thank you very much flying through everyone and being in front of everyone on the entire course because that made it way easier for me to keep track of what was going on. But you
Well, you
pulled
helped me
out.
out in the pits. You helped me out in the pits. I help you out on the course.
There you go. So I think you were 43 or 48 seconds over second place on day one.
Yeah, something like that. 48, 50. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah. I mean,
that's these
a
are
minute
not,
would be cool, but I'll take 48.
but these aren't local people. You know, this is a UCI style race. You know, these are people that drove. So I was in. I think I mentioned it to you, or maybe I didn't. But I was in the pits,
Hmm.
and there was a lady next to me, and she was heckling her husband, and she's like, you know, we drove too far for you to go this slow. You know, it was
What a
great. I
great
loved it.
heckle. What a great
Yeah.
heckle.
And so then I was like, well, how far did you drive? You know, they came down from Rochester. So they had done
Oh,
the
wow.
Rochester race, and I'm assuming they did, you know, Charm City and whatever, um, and came down to like finish out the series. And it turns out, her husband, I think, won the 40 plus on day two. So I mean, it wasn't like he was a slow guy, you know. It's
Oh, Luke Principe.
and
Yeah,
I
he was the guy that was on my wheel for a while once I got through the
yeah.
40 plus field. And I
So
was like, no, go ahead.
no, she didn't realize like who I was pitting for
Yeah.
until like day two. And then she goes, "Are you pitting for that Tim guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And she goes, "God, he's fast." I was like, "Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I know." And then we got to talking about some stuff, so it was pretty cool. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I think Trek is just a track that I've had a lot of success on. I've had a lot of unsuccessful moments on it, you know.
yeah,
Mhm.
And it's just I've raced it so much that I know how to race it now. I'm not like you go there for the first time, it's easy to be afraid of it
but yeah,
because we don't have anything like that in our area. Which when I went there the first time in like 2016, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what a real track is like." And then you
Yeah.
race it for so many times and you have good moments and bad moments and
yeah,
then you finally understand how you as a rider should race a course like that and
Yeah.
how you put it together and when it's hard, make it hard. When it's not, you know, catch your breath. And
yep,
you finally figure out how to do that and how to actually how it works for you, but how you can also make it work against your competition, if that makes
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what? That's perfectly said because I kind of had that feeling last year. Like I finally figured out how to approach that course, because it is an absolute kick in the ass. It's
Yeah.
so hard. Like the first few times I ever did it.
Yeah.
And then
Like
last year, I mean, it's just as hard. I mean, it's this really hard
Yeah, it
course,
doesn't get easier.
but the hard parts are hard, and you learn how to use the rest of the course to, flow and maintain some momentum and maybe get a little bit of recovery, and you anticipate the hard parts are going to be hard. So mentally you're in for it, instead of it just like punching you in the face unexpected.
Yeah. It's like the rock wall or the steps, going up the steps and remounting at the top of that, and you still got a little bit of a climb before you get over the peak of that. And for me, I know that, hey, when I see those steps, mentally prepare. You're gonna peak out as soon as you remount on the top of that when you're trying to get over the top, but you got to push because there's going to be riders that come up on you through that section. Yeah, it's an interesting course, and I think I've said last year when we were covering it, but all those difficult spots and or terrain features, whatever you want to call them, are very equally spaced throughout the lap.
Yeah.
And so it seems like you get the same amount of, oh, okay, now I can kind of zone out for half a second. Okay, bring back in. Let's go next one. And it seems like there's always one coming at you. And just when you're happy you nail one, well, yeah, I got to remember this one.
Yeah, I just think you figure it out over the years. Like the run up used to be super hard, and I knew it. So all the running that I've been doing, I wasn't even tired. I was
Yeah.
never tired. I was not one time tired on that run up. I ran up, I sprinted up it every time, and to the point where people, like dudes on the side, were like, "Holy shit, this dude's running it!"
Yeah.
And I'm like, to myself, I'm like, "What else am I supposed to do? Walk it?"
Yeah. Well,
Like it's
that's
a
what I
run
would
up.
be doing.
And
Yeah.
like, but all the running that I put in over the last 2 years made that part feel like a snap, where in years past, I'd be gassed at the top of that thing.
Yeah.
And then the barriers are small, they're easy. The factory hill was made easier this year, in the sense that we didn't go all the way down to the bottom. Um, the entry was a little sketchy, but it wasn't
It always
hard.
kind of is. Yeah.
Um, And then, we don't get to do the off-camber downhill that the UCI people did, which I've done in the past, because they didn't close. We actually raced the UCI course one year. And then everything else is suits my skill set.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If anything, the hardest parts are linking the power sections together.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they're broken up by technical bits, where even if I am getting pressure from behind, my technical ability allows me to maintain or increase the gap over my competitors.
Yeah.
Whereas
While
if it,
recovering.
yeah, if it was just full on the gas, it may be a different story.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, Factory Hill this year, you kind of briefly mentioned it, but I liked the flow of it from what I could see. Now, I didn't write it, so I don't really know, but
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
it seemed way easier than in previous years, but at the same time, still super hard.
Easiest version that they've had probably ever, because I mean, the entry is usually the same. Actually, the entry was different. This
Yeah,
year we came off the straightaway and dove straight
just
down the hill,
yep,
like on a camber across the camber, and then you made the slow turn to come back up. Where in years past we would go kind of like a soft entry on the left and then a hard right,
yeah,
traverse across the hill and go down and then go all the way to the bottom. Those years was a lot harder, because that 180 was always tricky because you're coming in with a lot of speed. And then, having to get on the brakes at the very bottom of the hill, make your turn, and then ride this tiny little goat path,
yeah.
you know, from the bottom was always, it was hit or miss. This year, with it being
It was huge.
so open and wide, you had the bottom line. If you didn't brake properly, you could still bail out there, but you had all this area above you. And what I think that did is it took a lot of the log jam away,
Yes.
especially for the larger fields, because I know in years past, even last year when I did the race, coming in the later end of the race, when I'm battling for the win or for the lead, I've come across guys walking the entirety of and they're just spread out and they're walking, and you're riding it, screaming at them, and they
Yeah.
can't hear you because they're bleeding out their ears and they're pissed that you're yelling at them, and it's this whole big deal. But I think the way they had it this year with it nice and wide, nice and open, you could pass if you needed to
Yeah.
safely.
I agree. It was definitely hard, but it
Yeah.
was definitely doable. And
Different
even the
story if it's
juniors,
muddy. Different story if it's muddy.
yeah, that would have been interesting, muddy. But it's that's the beauty of that feature. It's got enough nuance and
Yeah.
undulation to it that you can really do anything with it.
And it's not like Factory Hill's not it's not concave. It's crowned,
Yeah.
you know? So it's kind of like you're on a good camber instead of being like where if it's concave, you're kind of sitting into the camber. You're like
Yeah.
you're on top of it, and it's kind of like a knife's edge, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I
The
enjoyed it. Now, like I
to
said,
your
I've never
point,
read. Go
that
ahead.
entry was mess, but that was from the groove and ruts that we drove in last year because it
Yeah,
cut straight across and then turned
straight
down.
across.
And now you're having to go across those ruts, coming in before you did your off camber drop into it. They opened it up for the juniors on the first day, supposedly, but I actually didn't see it open at all the whole time. That little shortcut.
Yeah, I think the juniors were the only ones that had the shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall they do a fantastic job. It's nice to go back to a track that you are familiar with and know where your strengths are, know how you can improve upon your weaknesses. Like I know in the weeks, probably 2 weeks leading up, every like endurance ride that I was doing, I played this race over in my head. Like, this is where you're good. This is where you're not so good. If you get in this situation, do this. If this is the scenario at the end, do this. And I replayed all these scenarios in my head, so I was ready for it.
Nice. Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
it was very interesting watching him race both days. It was a lot of
Well,
fun.
I enjoyed the text commentary that I was getting from you during the weekend. I was like, oh, Tim's got 30 seconds in the lane. Tim's halfway through the 40 plus field. Oh, Tim's now at the front of the 40 plus field with two of the 40 plus guys. Okay, he left them behind. Now he's got a gap on everybody.
Your second day, your
My
time
time
splits
splits.
through the pit were good because I pay attention a lot audibly when I'm racing, not only to if you're in the pit, but to what's happening in front of me and what's happening behind me specifically. And in the beginning it was like 18 seconds, and I was like, okay, and then it was like 22 seconds, and okay, and then one time I think towards the end you were like, no, gap's too big, I don't have a number.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
And
like,
it
oh,
was it was when I did that
yeah,
because Brenda was in for Steve, and she heard me
yeah,
say that, and she's like, "I've got it," and she ran to her end, and she started timing you at the section where you guys were hitting the barriers and going over the barriers. So she
yeah,
was giving me splits from there. But the thing I
nice.
messed up is the guy that actually ended up in second passed who I was timing, and I didn't realize that. So
Yeah,
my split was to third, and it ended up being like 40 seconds, 30 some odd seconds. Second
yeah.
ended up being like 22 or 24 seconds or something like that.
Well, that's another thing when you're in a combined field like that, you not only do you have to race your race, but you have to keep dibs on who's who's in your
Who's
race,
doing what? Yeah.
who's doing what, and where are they. And thankfully, in the early stages of the track, it turns back on itself enough to where you can kind of gauge that. But if you look at the wrong moment and don't see someone that's maybe leapfrogged who you're eyeing, and you don't know that, or have someone that's on the same page as you pitting for you, it can get lost, and you can lose real easy. And the second
Yeah.
day when I saw second was solo for a while, then I saw second was joined by another person, and I was like, that's two against one. I didn't feel very comfortable, so I had to dig in a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I remember
But
when you did that.
yeah,
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Great time.
thank
I
you.
enjoyed going up there. They did hand out cheese for both days, and of course, my wife instantly was like, "We want the cheese!" So,
Oh,
thank you. I think we're going to have some of that tonight. So,
my pleasure. There's
yeah,
enough to go around.
yeah, yeah,
I will say shout out to Bill Scheiken and his partner. I think his name is I don't know his name, but he calls him Bodie. They did really great coverage to showcase this entirety of this USCX series on their
Yeah.
YouTube channel. You know, all 4 stops. It's really good, and the coverage from this weekend is exceptional as well. The racing looked really good on both the men's and women's side from what I watched. I didn't stick around to watch it. I just watched it, later, and it looked really good.
Speaking of the other events, we got the announcement yesterday, day before. Really Rad is not going to continue next year.
Yeah,
So they are done.
no more UCI. They'll continue, but at a smaller scale, like a
Yeah, they're
local,
not doing
a
UCI.
true localish scale.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and lament anything. Races are races. I'm glad we have what we got. And I enjoy the UCI races when they happen. If you want, I strongly advise anybody who's even remotely serious about this sport, and by that I mean, if you're worried about whether or not your bike is legal and you've looked into the rules, guess what? You're serious. I highly
Yeah,
recommend that you make it a point to travel to one, at least one, if you're lucky, two large regional races if you can. If you're on the West Coast and there's nothing close by and you got to hop a plane, hey, make it a big little small family getaway, and go out and give it a shot. Because I really don't think that you get. We've talked about it in the last few weeks how the courses are just so much more than whatever you're getting at the local level. And I think that the more people that attend UCI races and see what those courses are like and see what the vibe is like and see what's possible, that benefits the sport so much in the coming years then, to the point where you never know. Maybe somebody that attends and sees it and, it blows their mind. They may be the person, hosting the next big race down the road and they were inspired by it. I remember I always talk about it my first time at USGP in Louisville and just being like, just mind blown. And then knowing this is a world's course, this is a world championship course. And that
the
had an
first time,
effect on me the first
the
time I
first time
went to it.
when I went to nationals in 2018, I was like, I got a shot, and I fucking sucked, and I was so pissed off. I was so fucking mad on the drive home. I was mad that I was like, I'm good. How can I fucking suck this bad? And it's because our series had nothing,
Nothing. Yeah.
nothing, nothing national caliber. And I was so fucking irate. I'm still mad about it. And that was like 6 years ago.
And, and hey, for
But
those of you that have come up and talked to me at races and talked about this particular issue, I've had people from Wisconsin come up to me. I've had people from Illinois come up to me and talk. And almost everybody is in agreement. I mean, let's look at the series where it's at right now, at least on the CCC side, and it's time to make things hard.
I've
We
been
had the
saying that for
ability.
years.
We had the ability, and we've been. I think that at least for our race, we've been ratcheting it up slowly and just turning the dial slowly, because there's a fine line between the right amount and getting slapped across your face with just too much hard
It's
stuff
good
all at
to get
once.
slapped across your face every now and again.
At least once or twice a lap.
100%. 100% because when you do go to the one that is really hard regionally, you're like, okay, this is a little harder than the hardest I've tried, but I could
Yeah.
still manage it. You
But
have
there's a
at least a little
there's
bit
a
of preparedness.
difference between doing it right, where you got
Oh
the
yeah,
right mix, and
yeah,
just throwing hill after hill after hill
yeah,
after hill, and
yeah.
it's an FTP test, and no one really enjoys it.
Well, yeah, you got to remember, like, and that's the thing that I try to remember when I help design our courses. Don't design it for me, because if I'm designing it for me, it's going to be miserable for 99.9% of the rest of the people. But I can make it good, or we can make it good, hard but enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it is at the same time don't shortchange those at the less skilled line as well too, because believe it or not, most of them can get over things
Yeah,
to a surprising degree. So
yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you are designing a course anywhere or running a series in any other part of the country, challenge your riders. Let's do it. Let's get back to it. It's either this or what do we got? Gravel, where people can spend half the day out in the middle of nowhere for no reason and get maybe a medal.
I mean,
So
people are all about that participation.
sure, I think less and less are, but I don't want to say that. I think it's got a natural arc to it, and that arc has plateaued, in my
Oh yeah.
opinion.
I mean,
If not,
people are sick of racing for
yeah,
7 or 8 hours a day, 10 hours, 12 hours.
if not plateaued, it may even be on a slight decline, but it's not
When
going to go
they're
away anytime soon.
no, when they're in the middle of, BFE and their spouses got nothing to do in a podunk town for 12 hours, that's enjoyable.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
That's a
If
good day,
if
right?
if they were lucky enough to have their spouse come with them, a lot of them are just like,
Right. Right.
hey, I just spent 3 days, traveling, fighting all the travel crap, feeling like crap, sleeping in a place that I don't like sleeping,
Hmm.
and only to torture myself like this, and then have to travel all that way back,
Mhm.
only to come home and have my family pissed off because I was gone the whole time anyway.
Yeah,
It's like
I'd rather bleed through my eyeballs for
for
45 to 60
45
minutes.
minutes.
I will share one cute little story from Big Bear, and then
No, give
maybe
us okay,
no, we can do it maybe another time
okay.
with Bill. There was a woman in the women's masters race that I overheard her talking to everybody else at the start line about how this is her first time ever doing this, and she
Oh, awesome.
normally does 100-mile gravel races. So she's never done cyclocross before. And I didn't hear this conversation later in the day. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was Bill or Jess, but they said that the daughter was there. I think it was daughter or son, child of this woman. It was overheard afterwards saying, "This is a lot more fun than your other races."
Oh yeah,
Because it wasn't all day long and you get to
Fact.
watch the whole race.
yep,
You get to see them over and over and over again, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
and then there's a bunch of other kids running around, and it's just like a
Yeah.
fun for everybody. Yeah. So
Yeah, I've had that conversation with Darcy a million times after
mhm.
every drive home from a gravel race.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not a lot of fun for me.
And not to mention that when she goes to a cross race, it's full of people that she knows,
Right.
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
to see her and like to talk
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and visit.
Yeah.
It's a
Yep.
community, and I think we do a pretty damn good job with ours. So if you're even remotely close, come and enjoy it. We'll introduce you. Come up to the tent, say, "Hey, I listen. I don't know anything about cross, but you said come out, so I thought I'd join." One question we did have a email, and this is from John. I just got a text from Nate Knowles asking if his wheel was going to be ready because he did flat.
Mm.
This is from John. John and I talked quite a bit out at Trek, but this was his first time going up to Trek, and
Mhm.
he was genuinely shocked just at the race, at the difficulty of it, and the venue and all that. He thought it was great, absolutely great. But so
That's good.
he says after watching Tim racing and winning, what is the perfect tire for Trek? Because he's not sure his Gravine 40 millimeter was the right choice.
I mean, a Gravine is basically a beefed up chicane. Um, Obviously, it's tubeless version, so the side lugs aren't as tall as a true
As a
tubular
chicane,
chicane.
yeah,
I don't think it's a bad tire. I think it's a good tire. His pressures were probably off.
yeah,
But if you're not used to turning, on a dry, dusty track like that with minimal traction, you need to go with a beefier tire, maybe something like a tubeless Griffo, or if you have tubulars at your disposal, maybe something a little more aggressive, like maybe a Flandrian. It all depends on your skill set, and what you're comfortable with. I said it before, the best tire for you is the tire you're most comfortable with. I mean, you could see there's people that race trek in the condition it was this weekend, dry and dusty on Limas because that's what they're
Yeah.
comfortable on.
Yeah.
And then there's people that, the other end of the spectrum that race it on the dunes, which is
Dunes.
like a sand tire or a snow tire.
Yeah.
It's your comfort level and what your experience is. Um, for me personally, this is the first time I raced in a long time, tubular Griffos. I probably should I should have raced chicanes, but I was comfortable and happy with the speed and the traction that I had at the pressures that I was running on my Griffo, so I just stuck
Yeah.
with those. And that, as in a tubular version, those are spot on.
I would agree. Personally, being out there in dry and dusty, I would grab Grifos just to have a little bit of extra traction. I would be
Yeah.
okay and comfortable running a chicane in the rear, and but a chicane, not a dune. I would want the side lug just in case I started to slip.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would run Grifos. If I had less experience on a course like that, I would see no problem throwing Flandrians at it and just
I mean, you can mix and match. Don't fall under the myth that you have to have the same tread pattern front and rear.
yeah.
If you ride aggressively and you turn and you corner hard, put your traction up front and have your speed in the rear.
And that's
Do a Flandrian chicane or a Flandrian Griffo or whatever. You can mix and match treads. Don't think you have to stick with the same tread pattern unless it's, diabolically muddy.
and the reason why we always say that with more traction in the front is if you've ever washed your front, it's not fun. Washing your front sucks. But when you wash your rear, no problems. You just kind of recover from it. You get a little bit of drifting and you usually recover. Washing your front and you're on the ground. So a lot of people will beef up their traction on the front wheel,
You
if it's
know,
any question.
and obviously if he's running a Gravine, it's a gravel tire. It's 40. It's tubeless. So if you're not, he's probably only used to pressures in a gravel setting, not on a cyclocross
Yeah.
setting. And with a tubeless tire, even though it's 40, you can't go that low. Like there's a cutoff before you burp it or it rolls off the rim. Oh, depending on even
I,
what kind of rims he has.
yeah, I would have been in for that, for John, I would have started, honestly, I would have started in the high 20s for the pressure on those and seen how that
Yeah,
done.
I mean, like I said, I had tubular Griffos. I ran 23 and a half in the front, 24 in the rear. And I was money for me. If there was a tubeless set, I probably would have went 25, 25 and a half,
Yep. Yep.
you know.
God, there was somebody, there was a big tubeless burp that screwed up somebody, and I don't remember what it was. And I wanted to remember it and remind people of it, but whatever. All this talk of tires, obviously, if you need some tires or you want some more information on particular treads, go over to treadsavvy.com, TreadSavvy. There's two V's in savvy. We do still have the Grit 20 code going. It has automatically disarmed a couple times, so I apologize if you missed out. But we are still, running that just so I can have a discount code on there. Get 20% off of what you're doing. Someday I might change the code, but it will just be the change in the name of it. There's always going to be at least a 20% off out there. Also, we've gotten far enough with the cross stuff to the point where I'm starting to do what I said I was going to do. We've brought in a few gravel tires and I that are on closeout and some specials, and I don't have them on the site yet, but I'll get them on here fairly soon. And then I do have I lucked into a pile of really nice road tires, so we're going to get those up there. Also, I realized I've got some new old stock Dugast that I'm going to try to get up there as well too, because we're not just challenged, but that's kind of how it's gone so far. So check us out at treadsavvy.com. Pick up some tires, and when you do, I'll get you a really cool sticker that you get to use, or a slap, as the kids call it,
Mm.
because I walk around with them in my pocket. So if you're a very astute observer and you get a lot of pictures at this weekend's race at Trek, you'll see a few of these that were slapped around in the parking lot. And I actually think I slapped one of these next to the podium on the concrete that has the lamppost there, so that if somebody gets a wide podium shot, you're going to see one of these in there. So
That being a buttonhole sticker.
yes,
For those not watching YouTube.
Yeah, when you order from me, guess what? You get stickers now, because I think they're cool, and I'm going to keep doing that for a very long time. And if you order from me and you know me and I know you, you're getting a little hologram Rob head sticker. So please don't put it anywhere offensive. But put it wherever you want, and take a picture and post it and tag me, and we'll share it. Also, if you don't know me and you just want a Rob head sticker, put that in your order notes, and I will be sure to include one in there. So come visit us, get some buttonhole chamois cream. Go to treadsavvy.com. Obviously, go to Cymet if you got any wheel questions or anything. What? How I don't mention it until the end.
No. I just had something when you talked about getting the Rob sticker.
Oh, nice.
Someone's gonna write in, I want head from Rob.
I was thinking I need something for target practice.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I would say I regret putting that out there, but I really don't. It's going to be interesting.
No, that's who you are.
All I got to say is Rick did these heads, the hologram heads, and he did Michael Kelly, who is Supergirl, fixture in the Chicago scene for ever since I've been around cross, and I think he was there. I mean, South Chicago Wheelman's like 100 years old, and I think he was there at their inception. And he wasn't. He did he did me the second year, and he's done Brenda now, Brenda Fury the third year. And I got to tell you, he said, I'm out of the Michael ones. Those went very quickly. And he goes, I'm running low on the Brenda ones. I don't have that many left. He made sure to hand me a whole hell of a lot of the Rob ones, and he said, I got tons of these. So
Aww.
I should have them for quite a while.
Aww, nobody wants a Rob ones.
Nobody likes Rob.
Nobody wants a Rob head. That's fine. I don't take offense to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. Any closing remarks? Go change your cleats. I say that because I got to remind myself to do it. Lots of interesting stuff happening in the industry. We can cover that later, though.
Yeah, and we'll do a Big Bear double cross.
Yeah,
on the next podcast.
Absolutely need to. So, thanks for joining us, and until next time, enjoy the ride.